Hello everyone, today let's talk about chemical bonds. Chemical bond is a type of interaction that involves between atoms in order to stick them together and thus form molecules or compound. Chemical bonds is comprised by two main categories. The first is covalent bond, when electrons are shared between two elements. The other is ionic bond, when electrons are completely transferred to form an ions. Covalent bond is formed when electrons are being shared with each atom. Nonpolar covalent bond occurs when the atoms are identical or when the electronegativity differences between atoms are below 0.5. Take a look at this chlorine gas, where two atoms of chlorine are bound together to form a covalent bond. Chlorine gas has nearly the same electron density in between atoms. This happens because identical atoms have the same electronegativity values. Some compounds that have nonpolar covalent bond includes gases like oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. When we pair two different elements, we might end up with a compound that has polar covalent bond. Polar covalent bond occurs normally because different atoms has different electronegativity values. The difference in electronegativity will make most of electrons stuck on top of one atom. Let's take a look at this hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid has asymmetrical electron density and most of electrons stuck on top of chlorine atoms. This is because chlorine atom has higher electronegativity values than hydrogen. Most halogenic acids such as hydrofluoric acid and hydrobromic acid have polar covalent bond. Ionic bond that occurs when electron leave one atom and enters the other normally occurs between metal and non-metal elements, and thus it is known as metal and non-metal interaction. The electron transfer forces two atoms to form the respective ions where it gets its name. Let's take a look at sodium chloride. Inside, there are two ions that comprise these ionic compounds. Sodium lost one of its electrons and give it to chlorine atoms, and thus both sodium and chloride ions are formed. This electron transfer happens because there is a big gap of electronegativity between two atoms. All salts generally have ionic bonds as their main interaction to glue them together. To sum up, chemical bond is an interaction between atoms, glue them together, and form a compound or molecules. There are two types of chemical bonds: covalent bonds, where electrons are shared between atoms, and ionic bonds, which emphasize more on electron transfer between atoms. Nonpolar covalent bond is occurs in every molecule with identical atoms, whereas polar covalent bond is usually found in molecules comprised of two different non-metal atoms. Ionic bond, in the other hand, is an interaction that revolves around electron transfer and generally can be found in salts. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and don't forget to follow our YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. See you later!